2021 Rec Advisory Committee. I'm chair of the Rec Advisory Committee. I find that due to the state of emergency declared by governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the governor's emergency order 12, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Public notice of this meeting was posted on the town website and on the bulletin board of town offices at 10 Front Street. As provided in that public notice, the public may access the meeting online and via telephone. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting and who that person is, which is required under the right to know law. I'll run through our attendance here and just let me know if anyone's in the room with you. Hi, Dan. Our vice chair, Courtney Marshall. Don't see Courtney on. Okay. Dan Provo.
Here, and I have the patio to myself.
Oh, lucky you. Awesome. Mike Whistler.
I am here, just me and the dog.
Hey, Mike. Val Castanet.
Hi, I'm here, and it's me and one of my cats and dogs.
Okay. Jen Harrington.
Here, I'm alone in this room.
Connor Berry.
Yep, I'm here at my home office and I'm alone.
Bryn Sullivan.
Hi, I'm here with my dog. Alone, sad and alone.
And we're also joined by our rec director, Greg Visson.
I am here alone in my room, but I have a toddler that may run in before bedtime.
Okay. And our assistant rec director and interim town manager, Melissa Roy.
Hi, I am here and alone in the room.
And our program coordinator, Dave Tovey.
Hi, Steph. I'm here by myself.
Hi, Dave. And I'd like to welcome our new select board representative, Select Woman Julie Gilman. She will be our select board representative for the Parks and Rec Committee now, starting today.
Oh, thank you very much, and good evening. I look forward to being recreated.
We're looking forward to recreating you, Julie.
I'm looking forward to this. Thank you very much.
Yes, and we assume you're alone?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I am alone in the room.
Wonderful. Okay. Before we get started with the meeting, thank you so much to Julie for stepping up and joining our rec team here. We're really excited to have you. We know that your ideas are going to be helpful, and we know that you're going to be keeping us on track and in line with what all of our responsibilities are as far as the town and the select board goes as well. I want to take a moment just to thank Molly, Selectwoman Molly Cowan, sorry, just for all of her service over the last few years. She's been so helpful. She's been instrumental in helping us pull through so many activities and events along the way. And we're very appreciative of the time and effort and energy that she put into our committee. So thank you if you're watching, Molly, and good luck on your other committees. With that being said, I will call the meeting to order. We'll start by approving the minutes of the January 26, 2021 meeting. I'm not sure if everybody had the opportunity to take a look at those minutes prior to the meeting. And I'm happy to entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, we have an aye or a nay vote. I'll run down the list. Courtney is still not here. So Dan Provo.
Aye.
Mike Whistler.
Aye.
Val Castanet.
Aye.
Jen Harrington.
Aye.
Connor Berry.
Aye.
And Bryn Sullivan.
Aye.
All right, we unanimously have a vote to approve the minutes of January 26, 2021. So we can move along and start March 20th, 2021's meeting this evening. We're going to start with program updates right out of the gate. So I think it looks like we're probably going to be turning those over to, is it Greg or Dave?
Yes. First one on the agenda for today, Steph, is field priorities. That's something that I think we just need to briefly discuss. As you all know, the rec park is well used, and even a year into COVID, it is very well in demand. So as usual, we had Exeter Youth Softball, Adult Softball that is now under us, as well as Exeter Youth Soccer, all needing space at the rec park. Unfortunately, due to constraints, we have had to limit soccer's use there to Tuesday evenings in one little spot. Thank you, Exeter Youth Softball, for allowing that. Fridays, they have the whole field themselves, and then Saturday afternoons and Sunday afternoons. That being said, youth softball has the majority of it, as they should, being in season, and just another example of why we need more athletic fields in this town.
Reed, thank you. And as a coach for softball, I'm curious as to when we can start using the fields. I know we're told April, but I just wanted to make sure that we get proper turf and everything to be able to get out there and not do damage to the beautiful.
Yeah, it's still a couple weeks away. The grass is just coming out of dormancy. I walked the fields this morning. They're pretty squishy, especially after Sunday's rain. The infields are definitely squishy. I ask anyone that is going up there and playing to refrain from using cleats and running around up there too much, because there are some good marks of people actually using it up there. But when they start playing on the field too early and the grass is out of dormancy, it tears up the turf. So that causes us to have to repair it. So 2 more weeks. Youth softball has already actually been asking as well.
I am youth softball. That's why I'm asking. So my girls have been asking. I'm asking on behalf of youth softball. I've been charged with that tonight. So thank you. Let us know when it's safe, and I'll make sure that we keep everybody off the fields until it is. And we'll let everybody know when it's in good shape and ready to go. So thank you. We are looking forward to that. Any questions or discussion on field time, seasonal priorities, anything of that nature? All right. Well, we'll move on to summer programs. I can't believe it's already summer programs.
Summer programs are, I'm going to turn it over briefly to David because he's been doing a lot of the camp stuff. Melissa helped a lot as well. But Summer Adventure Camp, we still have space available. But we are working diligently. I think we have our staff pretty well lined up. David, if you want to correct me.
Yes, we have a lot of returning camp staff coming back for this year, which is great, especially some of our senior staff. Happy to have them back. And Greg was right. We do have some spots available. We have about 80 spots left. So we're at 140 right now. With the 140, we have some smaller groups. So if we take on more campers, we don't necessarily need to hire additional staff at this time. So more than happy to take some new campers coming in. But as far as that goes, I think the last time we discussed was the potential for field trips. We've discussed in the department to just take those off the table for now. It's not in the recommendations, or it's in the recommendations to not do field trips. So we've taken those off the table. But we're really excited for a fun and safe summer this year. We're working with a new online company to help out with the health screening process in the morning for all the staff and campers as well. So we're pretty excited to use that to streamline a lot of the documents that we use, not just in camp, but also with our other programs as well. And that is probably the update I have for now on Summer Adventure Camp.
Great. Do we have any thing posted on the Facebook page letting people know, number one, that we have spots available, and secondly, broken down by age group, what age categories we have? If we don't, could we put something up?
Yes. Yep. We do have it on our Facebook. We'll continue to push it through social media. And I know over the weekend, a Constant Contact went up. Grades 1 and 2 is on a wait list right now. So everything other than grades 1, 2, we do have space available.
All right, that sounds great. Any questions? I think I saw Bryn's hand up. Bryn?
I'm sorry, David. Did I miss how many signups you have versus how many are open? I didn't hear that.
We have 140 signed up as of today, and we can go up to 220.
Thank you.
I'm curious what feedback you're hearing from parents as far as not signing up? Is it regulations or is it cost?
I think it's more cost, and parents are still working from home. So between the cost and working from home, it sounds like, oh, we're just going to take this year off. Will they regret that midway through summer when their kids are home? Possibly, but yeah, no, I haven't heard, at least myself, that it's been more of the regulations and face masks and all of that.
What other questions do we have, guys? Yeah, Connor?
Yeah, no, I think it was on this point. I seem to remember, maybe to Jen's point about potentially, or the cost of the program, is that there was some discussion about potentially establishing a scholarship fund. I think we had discussed that last meeting. I just wanted to check on the status of that.
I think that it was mentioned last meeting that there was some money, state money, correct? For Melissa, Greg, you want to clarify that?
There's really no funding currently for camps, right, Melissa? I don't believe. There is, Senator Shaheen is working on getting funding for camps, but that hasn't been pushed forward since the last stimulus. As for scholarships, we are still working. We're actually working to get our Friends of Recreation back going. To help, because they've taken pretty much the year off with the pandemic, to get them going for fundraising. And that's one of the things they would be fundraising for is scholarships. But not to steal his thunder, but later on when we go to the virtual programming and the virtual 10K, we do have a location on there when people sign up for it that they can make donations to go towards scholarships, because we do give out a lot of freebies, not in summer camp per se, but because we are part of the RUN program in the Seacoast with Kristen LaFleur. So we're very excited with that. But yeah, Connor, that's something we've struggled with, wanting to get scholarships, but we will be reducing the price next year for everyone. We will have to see what the cost will be and the expenses, but we project it to go down considerably.
Sure. Yeah. No. Lucy and I would be happy to donate, what we can, and I'd reach out to other locals I know in town if there was such a fund, and if it would help a family send their kid, that would be great. So I just was checking on the status of that. Thanks so much.
Sure.
Thanks, Connor. Great question. Julie, did you have a question?
No, I don't. I just, my lowering my hand button isn't working. So just hi.
Hi, good to see you again. Bryn, you had a question?
Yeah, I think Connor brings up a good point, and I think that we're all very aware of the conversation surrounding diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think that brings up kind of one of the larger issues that I'm sure as we move forward as a rec board, we'll continue to thread through everything that we do, making sure that we share the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusion in what we do, given that we have to re-examine everything we're doing as a municipality and as recreation boards and everything that we're doing to make sure that we are thinking about things like that. So, a scholarship fund is one of those elements, but we shouldn't lose sight on that. We have to consistently think about how to be inclusive in everything that we do.
Agreed. Thank you. That's a great point. Connor, did you have another question?
I'm sorry, I didn't lower my hand after
That's okay.
but I agree with Bryn entirely.
Thanks. Mike, I see your hand tonight. Usually we all just talk like a Greek family over each other. This hand thing is interesting to get used to. Go ahead.
I just figured out where the button is. Is there any mechanism or chance? Obviously, this is a selfish question that current seventh graders would have a chance at attending if there are slots available. or soon to be eighth graders, I should say.
So opening up that slot. What do you think, guys?
That's something we haven't discussed as of yet. I can talk with Melissa and David offline and look at the numbers. It all depends on if we can get staff, and that you'll see this is a common theme. Like every small business, we are struggling for applicants.
Okay. Other questions, guys? That's a great question, Mike.
Greg, how old do the kids have to be? Counselors.
Counselors, CITs, we prefer 16. Well, everyone's 16 and over.
Got it.
That's a good question. You're thinking of all those kids going into freshman year, aren't you? I was just thinking that too. Like, when we do that soon enough, right? All right. If there are no more questions, we'll move on to. Did you want to touch base on any of the other summer programs, Dave?
Yeah, Dave. If you want to just touch base on all the other camps that you kind of have in the chute that we're going to be rolling out. Football.
Yep. Yeah. We have our normal soccer camp towards the end of summer with Challenger Sports. Registration is open for that now. We have our flag football camp, 2 weeks of that with Coach Cutting coming up. I believe both weeks are going to be in July. All of these are following, COVID protocols too, as well. Our golf camp was very popular last year, so we added another session on that. Session 1 has a wait list now, but session 2 and 3 are both open for registrations on that.
And all of this is being communicated via online and things like that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Any questions or anything anybody wants to bring up on summer programs? Thank you for everything you guys are doing. I know that this year has been uncertain, and you've done a really good job. The feedback's been wonderful from everybody that signed up this year. So I'm looking forward to a great season for us at softball and for everybody else as well, for soccer, flag football, baseball, all of those sports.
Yes.
Pool update. I think, Melissa, is that you?
So we're still trying to work out some of the kinks for the pool. We are having a very limited number of staff returning. When we shut the pool down, they did find lifeguarding positions, elsewhere last summer of those places that could open the pool. But I had 5 interviews today. I have 3 or 4 more on Thursday. So we'll be able to get back up and going. One of the biggest changes that we're trying to figure out at the moment is whether we need to go to a reservation system or setting a maximum number of people, sort of the 6 feet social distancing. In the guidelines that are currently in place, they're supposed to be 6 feet away from everybody in the pool and on the pool deck. That's going to be a little tricky with the kids. However, we know we can run, we know we can do it. We're just working out some of that basic understanding of the best way to go forward. One of the biggest changes that we're considering is the possibility of not running swim lessons this year. And there's a few reasons for that. The guidelines for swim lessons make it a little bit more challenging, and the revenue isn't exactly a one-to-one basis. It can be done, but we don't have a lot of hours in the day for that program. And in order to serve as many people as we did, we wouldn't be able to do that with the current protocols for COVID. So the thought process is, if we were to not offer swim lessons, we would open those swim lesson times up to the community to be able to use the pool, because we're also going to have to close the pool for about 2 hours in the afternoon to allow our summer camp kids to have private access to the pool, whereas before they were able to commingle with the public. But in order to keep all of our kids in their groups and to keep them from any exposure to the public, we are going to need to change that. And so this will allow us to offer the community more time in the pool. The downside to that is it's a very large revenue generator for us. And so we are trying to work all the numbers. We know without swim lessons, we will not be able to cover the cost of running the pool. So therefore, we may have to dip into the rec revolving account. However, we will do everything that we can to do that. But we feel like, especially after the year everybody's had, having the pool open to the community as much as possible is a good thing. So we would love any feedback or thoughts that anybody has on that. We know it's not a fantastic decision, but we think ultimately it will serve the community as a whole better. Brandon?
A couple points. One, in Portsmouth last summer, we had our outdoor pool, and we started with a reservation-based system for the pool, and we did allow 100 people at our size pool, 100 people per hour. We'd do the hour, then they had to leave and we clean, et cetera. But we started with the reservation system, and then we dropped it a couple weeks into it. It wasn't worth the effort, and we just did first come, first serve. That we with our size pool, we just didn't end up getting inundated for kind of the headache of having the online system always accessible, et cetera. There were days we had to print the list. It ended up kind of being a mess. So I just give that to you as food for thought. And then I was just also thinking in terms of revenue for the pool, I'm just curious if there's the possibility of doing pool rentals for like birthday parties, et cetera, as a way of generating revenue. Or people just booking it like they've been doing the movie theater, for X amount of money, you can show a movie and just your family and friends go, or however you determine.
So we already do pool rentals Saturday and Sunday nights for birthday parties. The issue that we have with sort of renting the pool is that people pay pool passes for the summer to have access. So if we start blocking out a lot of time where they can't go, it gets a little bit tricky. It's not to say that we couldn't designate a few times, but we do already have Saturday and Sunday evenings. And we do usually, and we're not sure this is going to happen this year, but we usually rent out the pool in the mornings to a local swim team. So, times that people are interested in the pool are pretty booked at the moment, but it is definitely something we can look further in to see if we can slip in any times where people could do private rentals.
Connor and then Jen. And I think Val, you had a question as well. No. Okay. So Connor and then Jen.
Yeah, well, just I guess at the risk of displaying my ignorance as a new committee member, Melissa, you had mentioned the recreation, I think you said revolving fund. Mm-hmm. Is that something, and maybe this is a question for Selectwoman Gilman too, is that money appropriated directly through the annual budget, or is it some kind of discretionary fund that the select board? Well,
no, that's okay. So we, most recreation departments have a revolving fund. And what we are able to do is through program fees at the end of the year, if we have any leftover, we are allowed to put it in a revolving fund that we are able to build up to support other programs, emergencies, putting back into our park system, or whatever we need, whatever there's parameters, but it is not from any tax dollars. It is on program revenue fees. So we do also get something called impact fees, in which local developers, and there is a certain set of rules for that use, as well as a timing. This recreation revolving account also comes in handy when it's basketball season, and we take the registrations in December or November, but the actual expenses are getting paid in January and February because our programs are by the season. And so it's a way in which most recreation departments function to be able to offer programs on a year-round basis.
Okay.
And Connor, it does allow us to expand programming as we as long as money to cover that. Previously, when I got to the department 18 years ago, we didn't have a rec revolving fund. So everything was appropriated, but it limited our capacity to ever expand. So if we didn't foresee a dance class coming into the rec and it wasn't in the budget for the previous year, we could never offer it.
Okay. And just thinking about revenue sources. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. Jen, you had something too? Thanks, Connor.
Just a thought. Have we thought about or have been contacted by any swim clubs looking as a way to generate revenue by offering them times? I know swim clubs often are having trouble finding pools to swim in.
So we have one that does 3 mornings a week with our pool. One of the downsides is our pool isn't heated, which is, the times that we can offer that. A lot of the swim teams, they really got to be committed to getting that pool at 7:00 in the morning. So, and we don't want to give them prime times because we want to keep that for our residents. So, but we would, if we have a swim team that is looking to have some time and it's a time that isn't being used, that definitely can talk with them for sure.
And Jen, to your point, and Melissa I just got an email this evening from a swim team looking for times because Portsmouth is not allowing them. So they've approached us asking. So.
Yeah, the Portsmouth indoor pool will 99% not be open this summer. There's a leak, big one. But the other thing, oh my gosh, now that we talked about that, my brain changed gears. I'll come back.
You're talking about swim teams?
Yes. I forget. I'll come back.
Committed cold swimmers. Okay. All right. Let us know if you think of it and we'll come right back to it. All right, friend. Any more on the pool updates, Melissa? Connor, did you have another question?
Well, I was just going to suggest that, and I just know this because of Lucy is a big swimmer and used to do some master's classes through her YMCA. And I just know that you have a connection to them and town staff. I just don't know if we could establish a master's class or at least advertise that, if that could be a source of revenue, if there, might be a swimming master's class that would want to use it this summer. I don't know if that's just something we could, do through, maybe it would be sponsored by the YMCA, but it might have its own separate registration fee that would go to the town instead. I don't know. Just, I'm kind of thinking out loud.
No, that's okay.
That's what we do here.
That's right. So we can look into that. We do some senior, I know it's not the same thing, but senior aqua Zumba and aqua aerobics that we provide usually to the community for free. We're trying to figure out how we can do that again. It's just a funny thing because in order to sell community passes, we have to keep enough time open for the community. But because we have summer camp there every day, we also have to now shut it down. So usually it's been open. So it's just finding that balance of we need to make people feel that the value of their pool pass is actually worth it to them. And then if we can, plug things in around times that we're not seeing people use it, then that's great. The other thing, we don't have lights, so we can't be out too dark, and we need to end early enough for there to be enough light for the lifeguards to clean the decks and get everything ready, and some of those things as well. So they're all fantastic ideas, and keep them coming. We're always looking for other revenue ideas and sources. So yeah, all great ideas.
I remembered what I was going to ask. Is the snack shack going to be open?
It is. Yep. It is going to be open. We're also figuring out that a little bit just on, how many people we can have in there working and, what we want to do. If we want to do maybe a little bit more of a limited menu, not sure, but we will definitely have it. Camp kids are very excited. I think I've already got 3 questions of, is the snack shack going to be open?
Yeah. But I was just thinking revenue, is that to be creative with it, is that a way of generating some extra revenue, even if it was I don't even know, like advertise to families who can just ride their bike over to the park and come get ice cream after dinner or something. I don't know. So
yeah, absolutely. So those are all great. This is sort of what we're going to be spending our next few months really digging down and figuring out what we can do. So
great discussion. Anybody have any other questions? All right. Thanks, Melissa, for the update. We appreciate it. We're moving on to sports programs. I know we touched on a few of them already, Dave, but if we want to touch base on some of the ones we haven't discussed yet, tennis, pickleball, track and field, we've touched on the others, but
I'll grab the tennis and pickleball and I'll let Dave handle the rest.
Thanks,
so after 35 years, Kyle Littlefield has retired as a tennis instructor for Exeter. He is moved to Maine. He is still having residency locally, but he thought with all the COVID protocols, it's best that it's time for him to step aside. We have left the door open for him to come back and actually teach for us in the future, if that's something so he desires. So that left us scrambling to find tennis instructors and tennis programming. I think we have it lined up. We first contracted with USTA for a net generation program of theirs. It was very affordable, and when we opened it up, it filled up within 5-10 minutes. So people are very tennis hungry. We are also working in coordination with Bean and Tennis out of Greenland. That's the one that came highly recommended by Kyle. And we're also working with the tennis director of PEA. We're looking to do a toddler parent class.
That's cool.
So when I say toddler, 3 and 4 year olds. So that's her. She comes from a long line of tennis professionals coming from India, and she was recruited to University of Tennessee Martin. So we're excited to have that because hopefully she's pitching it to her tennis kids at PEA to have them actually help teach the kids classes. So that's outstanding. So that's one. So look for plenty of new programming coming out. It just may take a little while.
Great.
I think Dan's raising his hand.
Yes, Dan.
If you didn't get in the 5 minutes and you have, say, 2 children on the waiting list, what are the odds that we're going to have more offerings?
We will definitely have more offerings this summer, Dan. I tried to convince USTA to offer another session of tennis less because it's filled up so fast. But this program has been a big hit wherever they've rolled it out. And it's just by chance, we were lucky enough to get their last spot they had available, and they had an instructor in Stratham. So I couldn't believe how popular it was and how quickly it did fill up. But I'll keep you posted because we're going to have programs from 3 to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we'll have plenty of tennis programs throughout the summer.
There you go. Full transparency. Even board members can't get off waiting lists.
Greg, did you want to touch base on pickleball as well before we move to Dave?
Yeah. So when Kyle retired, he used to run senior pickleball in the mornings for the seniors. Since he retired, we've now assumed it and have done it. It made it a little more pickup friendly, so people can register through us. It's almost like a pickleball membership. They can do seasonally because we have a lot of people that do travel. And surprising enough, the campgrounds and the hotels in the area know of this pickleball group and actually recommend people that come in looking for pickleball, and they send them there. So it's a nominal fee of $40. We have about 40 lined up, and I mean, there's a wide range of ages and locations. We had a gentleman drive from Salem, New Hampshire to sign up for it. So we're excited about that. They actually start tomorrow morning. There'll be 6 courts full of pickleballers. It's Monday, Wednesday, Fridays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then Wednesdays as well at 6 to dusk. And there's been a large demand, and Bryn answered one of them on the forum, for lessons. So our two coordinators are going to look into offering pickleball lessons for beginners as well. So that's one of the things where we want people to get out there and be active. They were so enthusiastic about the program that a few weeks back, when there was snow still on the courts, they went and shoveled the courts off so they could play. So
yeah, and Portsmouth's pickleballers snowblowed the courts all winter so that they could play. And for any board members who don't know yet, pickleball is the rage sweeping the country, and it has hit the Seacoast seriously hard. We are all being asked, rec departments all over the region, to transform tennis courts into pickleball courts and to find more space. And tournaments are coming, and it's rabid. These folks are rabid. So I'm sure we'll hear from Greg more and more in the years to come about making accommodations for pickleball players. So awesome job, Greg.
Absolutely. And they mean business. I have a group of women
Serious
that come
business.
every single Friday before my class at the gym. And I am always amazed at how hard they play. They're amazing. They're such fun folks, and they're really driven for sure.
Right. If the Y wants to make money, skip the idea about the pool and drop in enough tournament space for pickleballers, and they will be flush.
I will pass it on. Awesome. Any more updates on tennis and pickleball, Dave, Greg, before we turn it over to Dave?
Nope. Dave can take it away.
Dave, take it away, my friend.
Yes, I second the pickleball statements too. If you haven't played it, it is a lot of fun. So after a long winter of no indoor sports, we are very excited to get back outdoors this spring and this summer to play some sports. Our soccer numbers, most of the programs, all the numbers are looking pretty average with or without COVID. Soccer, we have 20 teams as of now, about 190 players. So it's really looking good for that. We could still use some more coaches. We're, sending that out through emails and social media as well. Baseball, T-ball, we have 8 teams so far as well with 76 players. Today, actually, I just got a call from Bill Ball over at the high school that we are allowed to use the track now that the vaccination clinic is moving over to the mall. So track is going to be happening, as well as field hockey and lacrosse as well. Both of those numbers are looking pretty good. Lacrosse, we have 21 players, and field hockey, we have 15. One of the big changes, though, with spring sports as opposed to the fall sports, the COVID guidelines were updated twice recently, once in January and once, I believe it was last week. So the face masks are still required for everyone, although for players when they are directly participating in the sport. So soccer, for example, if they're on the field running around playing, the New Hampshire Safer at Home task force isn't recommending them. So speaking with our health officer, we've taken out that. So that's the major difference from fall to spring this year.
So if I'm understanding correctly, so on sidelines, they are required, but as soon as they step in the game, they can take those off.
Yes.
And that's for all sports straight across the board?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And is that just for the Exeter Rec leagues because you're not playing other towns? Or is that going to be something that's across the board?
That is the universal guidelines.
Yeah.
That's the universal?
It is. Okay.
Yeah. All of our guidelines for our sports are available on our website too. So we've been encouraging parents to read through the parent handbook that has all that information in detail for each sport specific as well.
What other questions do we have for Dave? Good. All right. I think we're sticking with Dave on this one. The virtual esports and the virtual 10K. Is that you, Mr. Toby?
Yeah. So we have our spring esports season. Registration just closed for that. Our numbers weren't as good as the winter. and reached out to GG Leagues. They conducted their own survey that we shared with all of our participants in Exeter. And then throughout the state, all the other rec departments shared the same survey to have consistency with the statistics on that. And they got a lot of good feedback. So they're a little curious as to why our numbers weren't so good as the winter season as well. I'll be sending out an email asking all of our participants from the winter if there was anything that we could do better or GG Leagues could do better. The one note I did hear was there were some games that had to be forfeited because the other team or player just never showed up to their scheduled time to play. GG Leagues did a good job. They are offering anyone that happened to more than twice, two or more than twice, they did offer them a free registration for the spring esports season. So I think they handled that pretty well, but I could see why, maybe someone said, I'm not going to register again. We had 2 or 3 games that just never happened because someone didn't show up and didn't notify us or try and, reschedule the game or anything like that. But other than that, the feedback has been pretty good on it. So our numbers this year for the spring are 7 registrations, whereas in the winter we had 30. So there's definitely a big change there. But we're looking forward to the spring esports and just continuing with the esports. Some of the feedback people would love to see have it be once, we can move on from COVID and everything, is to have some sort of like in-person tournament, which could definitely, I think, generate a lot more interest too now. As you all know, kids love just watching other players game. I'm not a big gamer myself, but it's a big thing. So I think some sort of in-person tournament would be really popular. The virtual 10K race, are there any esports questions before I move on? No. So the virtual 10K run, walk, or ride challenge, maybe you guys have seen it. We're calling it Exeter Moves. It's a new virtual program. Basically what it is, you have the month of June to complete a 10K. You can run, you can walk, you can ride your bike, and you can do it either in one day or you can split it up through the whole month of June. So trying to make it as inclusive as possible for people. Not everyone can run a 5K or 10K in one day. So this will, encourage people to just get outdoors and exercise, and it's for all ages. With the registration fee, you get a race t-shirt, and then you also get entered into a raffle. Whirly Gigs donated some toys so far for a raffle. Shout out Whirly Gigs. And we'll definitely be having some other, also Las Olas, who is our silver sponsor, donated a couple of $50 gift cards to Las Olas as well. And Planet Fitness is our platinum sponsor as well for the program. So we're really excited to get them on board. I don't think they've sponsored any of our programs in the past. So I've been sharing all the information I have with them. Hopefully they will post our flyer somewhere, maybe at the Stratum location or somewhere through their social media or their website. But we're still reaching out to other local businesses if anyone is interested in doing any sort of in-kind donations for the raffle, or if they want to do one of our bronze, silver, or platinum levels as well.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Any questions? Good. All right.
Also, sorry, one more thing too. As Greg mentioned earlier, we were using runsignup.com. That is the website that you register through. You basically create an account on there. That's where you'll input your miles. On there is a page for donations. So 100% of the donations received from Exeter Moves will go towards the program scholarship fund. So far, we had one person donate at the marathon level, which is $50. It's the highest level. So I was kind of shocked to see that out of the first 5 people who registered, that someone had already generously donated that much. So really excited. I put a goal at $1,000 for that. Love to see us reach that goal. If we go over that, that's fantastic too. So again, all of the donation proceeds are going to go to the program scholarship fund.
That's great. And thank you for whoever donated that. Anything else from the board? Questions for Dave? All right. Outdoor fitness classes. Let's move on to that.
That would be me. We have contracted with Bar Fitness. Barbara Durand is a resident of Exeter. If you don't know Barbara, Spitfire, she lost 120 pounds 10 years ago and has kept it off. So kudos to her. She comes highly recommended from other rec departments that have used her. And I know, having talked to Barbara, she's excited. She'll be at the rec park starting in May and be done right before summer camp starts. So it's an early class at 6:30 in the morning, but it's a great way to get out there and move. And we are actually talking with one yoga company to possibly do some yoga at Gilman Park as well.
That's great. Greg, I did have a question on this, not about the current yoga that you're working with. One of our members at the Y is an outdoor enthusiast, loves to work out outside. She was a yoga instructor very briefly indoors, and she decided to get certified as a paddleboard yoga instructor. And she was wondering if Parks and Rec, or I don't even know if this is within our purview, would be interested and able to do some sort of paddleboard yoga on the river of Swayze Park. And I wasn't sure, and I know that that's more a Swayze Park, probably trustee conversation, but I wanted to throw it out there. Or is that
funny you say that, and I'll throw it back to Dave because he's organized this. We actually do have paddleboard yoga that he organized. We do offer paddleboard rentals and tour lessons down at Stewart Park. And Dave, if you want to remind us, I know we've talked about it.
Yeah, I saw the information just came out the other night.
That's great.
I think he's trying to pull it up.
Sorry about that. Pulling it up and taking myself off mute at the same time. So we just released the information on that. It looks like it'll be starting in June, a couple days in June, July, and August. Stand-up paddleboard will be leaving from Stewart Park. If you do not have a stand-up paddleboard, you can rent one. If you don't, if you do have one, you can bring your own. But the registration fee also includes the life vest and the anchor that you'll need for the yoga on the stand-up paddleboard. So really excited to start that. It's for ages 13 and up. You can take up to a group of 12 people. And we do stand-up paddleboard. So this is a little bit different too. This includes the yoga as well. So 2 different programs, but that'll be down on the river there. So really excited.
Dave, if you had a group of 12 that wanted to do a private type of lesson or a private class, would the rec be open to providing that with the instructor for a fee?
Sure.
Yeah.
I also just want to sidebar all of these classes, and anytime with paddleboarding, it's here at Exeter at the river lunch, it's all tide specific. So it does require a little finesse on the timing.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Any questions or anything else on the outdoor fitness classes before we move on? All right, we will move on to project updates. Our first one is Gilman Park guardrail.
I'm gonna roll through these pretty quickly. Sure. That way I don't bore everyone watching at home. So first up, the select board approved use of the park improvement fund, and Mike Whistler's been down at Gilman enough. The guardrail that's around the green space is in much needed repair. It's becoming a safety hazard, so we will be replacing that in the next couple of weeks. And it's going to be a staggered, it's not going to be a solid guardrail around it. We're actually supplementing it with some nice trees as well that eventually will grow up and give it a little more shade for people there. There's another improvement that we're adding to Gilman Park, our hidden gem. The Recreation Park Pavilion renovation, I put it as one renovation. We again got permission to replace the roof. The pavilion was built in 1999 by the developer who built Exeter Farms. So it's been around for a while. Original roof, and with dust, there were shingles just peeling off it left and right, and a lot of rot. So we were able to replace the roof, replace a lot of sheathing. All the trim board had to be replaced. That was approved last night for that expenditure. We had tried to salvage some of the trim board, but it was crumbling in your hand, so obviously it was pretty bad. Next up is painting. We're going to actually paint it the same color as the pavilion at Gilman Park, so we have one consistent color for all our pavilions, so I don't have to wonder which shade of brown it is. That is the big one. Brickyard Park shed replacement. If anyone that's been to Brickyard Park knows, we have that metal box that is pretty in pretty rough shape. They've been in our parks for years, and a lot of them with steel structures are rusted, and especially the one at Brickyard is very bad, where the floor is now collapsed. And so for safety reasons and to expand our storage capacity, because that box is so small, we're adding a new shed that should be delivered in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Our ADA chair was approved last night at the select board as well. One of the things that, if you remember, we purchased the ADA lift in 2010 when the law required that all pools have an ADA access to it. It was never installed, and when I went to try to install it in 2018 when I became director, I just hit a few hurdles. We eventually had to get a structural engineer because the lift that was purchased was not the correct lift for that type of pool. So after getting designs and everything, it would have got to cost us $21,000 to $24,000 to renovate the pool to put an ADA lift in. So instead, we pivoted and found an ADA lift that actually is meant for these type of pools, and it's $7,500 installed. So we will be purchasing that. We started the process today, so look for that to come by the summer. And then the Rec Park mini playground, if anyone knows, next to the pavilion, we have a little playground. So we're getting quotes. Some of the equipment is in need of repair. We use that a lot for our summer camp, especially we don't want them going down and while they're just another activity. So one of the things we are looking to do is excavate the whole entire site down 6 inches and put the fresh wood chips in it that are certified to make it, one, help with drainage, two, also help dig out. We've already removed a lot of poison ivy by hand, but be a contractor, not our guys. So this would also help that, because there's a lot of poison ivy. Melissa and David had to fence off a large portion next to the playground. So that will prevent that from happening. So that will be going to the select board once I actually talk with DPW. Hopefully they can do the excavating for us. Tennis infrastructure replacement. As you know, tennis, as we talked earlier, is a very popular sport in Exeter. The poles were in much needed replacement. They were failing. The nets were tattered. So we have upgraded all of our infrastructure. We have put 4 tennis courts in now with new poles and new nets. The nets are a higher quality net that has been previously placed there. They're polyester material on top instead of a vinyl. So they should last a lot longer. And Melissa, David, and I we put the first 4 up within an hour and a half, and the next 4 should be in by, next week, early next week. So that we're waiting on those nets. And lastly, the Park Improvement Fund did pass, and one of the objectives is to do a community meeting and talk about Park Street Common and the playground. That playground is the next one that needs to be addressed. It's actually not really compliant. So look for that when things are a little bit, we may have to do a Zoom type of public meeting for the Rec Advisory Board, maybe to get people. But I think it'd be best if we get to a point where the board feels comfortable, we offer a community meeting right there at the Park Street Common and have people come out and give us their ideas, what they'd like to see. So that's on our plate, and I've talked with several neighbors there that really want to see that playground addressed. The only thing they've asked is keep the digger in there, which I'm fine. So, there's some of the other elements are in pretty good shape. They're not as bad as Kids Park was, but I think we can do a nice little small playground there with more swings for all ages, and then a little climbing structure with a slide to make it look a little and fit the profile of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions? Dan, did you have a question?
Yeah, I would be in favor of having that meeting at the park. I think that being able to actually see, how kind of lame it is when we're discussing potentially improving it, I think would be a really effective measure.
And I'm with you, Dan.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments for Greg? Yes, Jen first, then Mike.
I was just wondering, has there been any talk about when improving that park, adding any type of guardrail around any of the baseball or the park at all? Would that, it's pretty busy.
That would be the discussion, Jen. I do know there's several residents of that area that do not want to see a fence on the property. So that'll be a whole discussion that I think will be brought up. To your point, yeah, that's one thing that I'm a little concerned about. But at the same time, if we could come up with an alternative to keep people more enclosed. If anyone remembers, there used to be bushes that surrounded that little park that were the burning bushes that are invasive and thorny and a tick magnet. And so they weren't really friendly to kids. So we removed those. So that is a very good discussion point, and we'll see how the residents of that area want to see it.
Thank you. It was a good question, Jen. Having coached there before, it's a real nightmare to try and keep kids chasing the ball into the street. So it's a really good question. I look forward to that discussion as well. Mike, you had a question too?
Yeah, Greg, is there any capacity with your staff who really doesn't have hardly anything to do to do anything to the infield weeds or till or anything at Gilman, the baseball field?
Yeah, actually, let me work on that, Mike. One of the company that we use, First Organic, who again, 100% organic program, they actually just relocated into Exeter and have told me that they are looking for community service projects. So I will hit Frankie up for that one and see what he can do for us.
Perfect. Thank you.
Ask and you shall receive, Mike, right?
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Never does. Awesome. Anything else, Greg, that you wanted to add on to project updates?
Nope. Thank you to the residents for, again, voting in the Park Improvement Fund. One thing that David and I and Melissa were on this great seminar last week talking about backlog of maintenance, especially for parks. And it's alarming as COVID has put more of a spotlight on the outdoor amenities, that a lot of parks and recreation departments around the country are struggling with the backlog of maintenance to try to bring it up to par. For instance, by 2026, they estimate that the National Park Service will have $160 billion worth of projects that are backlogged, billion with a B. So for us, the impact fees that just got passed last night, if you read the report, it does mention that in our CIP, we have about $850,000 worth of projects in our parks that need to be done. And that is actually a low estimate because there's some things that are not in there that we're taking out because of the park project. So we're talking tennis courts will eventually need to be addressed because you only can patch them so much. The fencing needs to be fixed around the tennis courts. So again, thank you for the people that want to reinvest in their park system, because that's one of the most important things. I think people move here and they love the park system. And look, we're going to be inventive, and hopefully with the Friends getting back up, we can do some more fundraising and help check off some of those boxes.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that. Let's move on to events update. And I think we can combine concerts and movies into one discussion point, if that works for you.
Works for me. We just got approved last night by the select board to hold our summer concerts back down on Swayze. We're excited. We have a great lineup. So if anyone that ventured out to the high school last year to see a lot of our bands, we have invited a lot of them back, as we call it, a lost summer. So they had signed up originally to be playing at Swayze, and they came down there. So a lot of we kept it mainly local. So you have a lot of local bands, Driving Force, the Midnight Wrens, Cold Engines, the Kenny Brothers. I mean, there's a long list of great bands that will be coming into Exeter. So we may need to solicit some volunteers when it comes to concert time, just to help educate people, because we don't know where we'll be, to make sure that people are socially distancing and staying safe.
That's great. Movies?
And movies, we Melissa, David, and I have talked. We do plan on offering movies. We're not going to do a weekly movie this year, just because it's just the sheer numbers and the logistics of doing it and the high burnout. We're expecting, with the pool being open and camp being at a larger capacity and other sports going on, we feel that we only have so much that we can spread. So we will be looking to do 2 to 3 movies throughout the summer. Haven't picked a date, haven't picked a topic. So we're open to suggestions, and most likely we will go back to the select board and hold it at Swayze. If we don't, and now that the vaccination sites are open, we may go back to the high school. We don't know yet. That's still a work in progress. So I just wanted to keep everyone abreast of that situation.
Yes, Dan?
I know that both the junior class and the senior class advisors are looking to do movie nights as fundraisers in the spring. Do we own the screen that we use in the summer, or do we rent that? And if we do own it, is that something you guys would be willing to, for a fee, rent out to the high school?
Dan, that's Tim Kremen from the SAU has already reached out to us. He is going to borrow our inflatable screen for May 22nd for the junior class. They talked about that, and he's already reached out to Exeter TV. So as long we can lend it to an SAU employee, we just don't lend it out to private groups. There's a rental fee. Exeter TV has established something for all of their equipment, and the screen we co-own, and it's a $5,000 screen, so we don't really lend it out too often. So look for Tim. Tim has it under control, so yeah, it's great.
Awesome. I promised I would ask.
Any other questions or discussion for Greg? Moving right along then. Old business. Anything for old business?
You mentioned it briefly. Melissa Roy has been filling in as town manager, done an excellent job.
Thank you,
Wearing
Melissa.
2 hats. So thank you very much, Melissa. She's been a rock and doing an outstanding job representing Parks and Rec up in the big house. And I want to thank Julie Gilman for looking out for the town's needs as a rep for us, because having a voice in Concord, just to give you guys a little insight, House Bill 111, immediately when it came out, kind of piqued our interest in a negative way. So it kind of set up where it takes some protections off of municipal employees, elected officials, volunteers. So we're adamantly opposing that as a state association, and Julie has heard our calls and she's supportive of us. So again, thank you, Julie.
Oh, thank you, Greg. And the rumor is that the momentum is on our side, so that it will know in April whether it fails or not. But it looks like it will fail, so that's a good thing. Yeah. The only other thing I would like to add on top of that is there is another bill that I really like people to weigh in your opposition to. And it's called CACR 9. It's a concurrent resolution. It is a 2% tax cap, and it is not a tax cap on our tax rate. It's a tax cap on your bill. So that is pretty severe. And if we're talking about already being hamstrung by funding because of COVID and what we haven't been able to offer and what people haven't been able to participate in, if this passes, it'll just add on to that severely. As far as everything from Parks and Rec, I think, most towns would make that the first thing to go. So this bill is going to be talked about in the House April 7th, 8th, or 9th, one of those days. And if it goes to the Senate and passes there, then it's going to come to every town on their town ballot will be able to vote for it or against it. So it's got a long way to go. But I think if we can stop it in its tracks now, that would be much better. So if you go to GenCourt, GenCourt.nh.gov, you can register, you can do a search for CACR 9 and register your opinion there. And I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Julie.
Well, thank you all. I've been very entertained and realized how I must do a tour of all the parks that I have not driven by.
And Steph, if you, Connor does have his hand up, and then after that, I did forget one thing.
Sure, perfect. Connor?
I just had a question for Representative Gilman. I was just wondering what the difference was between a tax cap and a tax bill. And then I guess if you could help us with that, because I just don't know. And I'm looking, as we're speaking, I'm looking at my other screen here, trying to figure out what it is. And then I also just wanted to echo the sentiments about Melissa Roy and the great work she's doing. In my capacity as chairman of the Communications Committee, I had reached out to Melissa with an issue recently. She was highly receptive. She's just doing a great job over there. And I know it's a lot, it's a heavy lift, but you're doing a great job, Melissa. So I just wanted to say that as well.
Thank you so much.
I third that, Ms. Roy. Wonderful job. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
of course. Happy to help. So the thing I forgot is
Julie, he asked Julie a question.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, let me define that tax cap business. Typically, tax caps are defined on the tax rate. So if we were paying $7.25 for the town portion of the tax rate, with this cap, we'd only be able to go up 2% at most per year. So then each department would have to configure their budget in that way that it doesn't increase by more than 2%. That in itself can be debilitating, making some towns more competitive than others. This bill caps your tax bill. So if you have a bill for $5,000 this year, it can only go up to $5,020 or whatever 2% is next year. And that's pretty severe.
Okay, understood. And I have it pulled up, so I'll have to read it myself. But I appreciate the clarification. Thanks so much.
Welcome.
Thanks for the question. Thank you, Julie.
Melissa.
Any other questions or discussions before Melissa? All right, Melissa, take it away.
I just wanted to let everyone know that we are going to be planning the family camp out for this summer. And I do apologize. That is something that we had started 2 years ago, obviously couldn't do last summer, and are looking to bring that back. We have not determined the date. We think end of July, beginning of August. We're working on that right now. So just that will be coming out. And we'd really like to get it in line for summer camp and let the kids know. It was like I don't want to say it was last minute, but it was, not something that a lot of the camp kids knew about last time. So lining it up on a Friday night so that they can sleep out at the park and do that is on our agenda.
Can I add something to that really quickly, or ask a question? I know that we put it out to the town. Would we be interested potentially in doing just a camp out where the kids can kind of stay at the end of the day? And I was a counselor a long time ago, and we did that. And it was so much fun. It was kind of like where they're not having field trips, maybe doing something like this where it's just the camp kids that have gotten to know each other, be able to do something like that.
Yeah, so Steph, I did the same thing as a camp counselor growing up, and it was like my favorite day of the entire summer. I think COVID would make that a little tricky, because I think one of the parts that makes it great is that usually the parents aren't there, right? Yeah. So if we can put that on our agenda for maybe a summer in the future, I think we also have to budget for paying the staff to stay over for the night. And so that changes things a little bit. So with the family camp out, the family and the parents are there and that kind of stuff. And that's probably a little bit more in our zone during COVID. However, like I said, I love the idea because I myself did that and had a blast, and it was like the best thing ever. But a little tricky during COVID, but definitely in the future we can talk about it. Absolutely.
We'll have to pay a counselor extra for to be on guard on the teen tents.
Mm-hmm. That's a whole nother ball game too.
That's where we put the parents on surround for that. Thank you so much. That's awesome. And so, we'll add that to our agenda moving forward too, so that we can talk about that more. And another thing we touched base a little bit on today, Melissa and Greg, we've talked a little about it, but we'll touch base more on powder keg, as it could be a reality of some sort this year. We just don't know what capacity. But I think maybe we put that on the agenda, or is that something that maybe Greg or Melissa, you want to touch base on right now real quickly as to where we're at in discussions? I know they're early, but this comes up rapid and fierce every year for us.
Okay. We have taught the chamber, we are both interested in running something to keep our name out there. It will not be the 4,000 person powder keg, first of all. Some significant changes would be needed to be made and run by the health officer and the select board for their approval. But there is a test beer fest coming in Hampton, June 26th, if anyone is interested, the Beach and Beer. So we've been talking with that group over there to see how they're doing it. And they're working with the governor's task force currently, because John Nye, the head of the chamber, is on the task force. So we're going to see how that goes. But we have plenty of time to do something smaller, if that's something a little more intimate, but same footprint. So it would be less, and think no big top tents, really spread out. No, you get souvenir glass on the way out, not on the way in. And that plastic cups, so there's no one reusing them, going to different ones. So there's all kinds of logistics that we're still talking with the chamber. So it is, you're right, Steph, it comes quickly, but it is a little too soon to say yes or no.
And to follow up on that, I think one of the biggest discussion items is going to be where the mask mandate stands as we get further into the summer and into the fall, because that will certainly make or break the event.
Any questions or discussions based on this brief discussion? Yes, Bryn?
I do just want to say that the numbers for COVID are back on the rise, and being vigilant as ever continues to be important. So while everyone and their brother seems to be getting vaccinated, at the same time, numbers are increasing because everyone is not vaccinated for whatever reason. So we do still have to be mindful that this is not over. So everything the rec department is doing is important because they're being super careful, because we still have to be careful, even though we constantly see on Facebook, I got vaccinated, but we're not at the end yet. And it's still a dangerous time if we're not careful.
Agree. That's a great reminder, Bryn. Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm sorry, I'm going to step in one more time. Greg, do you want to talk about the fireworks and just the fact that we're sort of starting that discussion?
Yes, thank you, Melissa. We, as everyone knows, July 10th or around there, the town usually holds fireworks. We got permission last night, or not even, Julie and the board gave us the green light to put out an RFP and to start the process of booking a fireworks display, but to come back in June and, to Bryn's point, discuss the numbers and where the numbers are. So something that we've talked about is pushing it off to an alternative date later in the fall, in September or October. So I've heard back from one, and one of the dates, the September 4th date, is not a good date because a lot of people more people do fireworks now on Labor Day than I presumed. So I didn't understand that either, but hey, whatever. So yeah, that's one of the processes we're going. We have to be very careful because, again, besides the Powder Keg and the Independence Festival, that is the largest event Exeter has. You have about 6,000 to 7,000 people come down to downtown Exeter to watch the fireworks. And so, again, it goes back to, is there going to be a mask mandate? What's going to be the safety protocols? How do we do it safely if we do it? That's one of the things. So we'll see how it goes, and fingers crossed to Bryn. I'm with Bryn. Be vigilant, wear a mask, socially distance. A vaccine doesn't make you safe. It protects you, but you can still spread it. So let's be vigilant and not go there. And on that point, we are actually holding a vaccine clinic for our summer staff. I forgot to mention that as well. So when we go to, we're scheduling some dates in April, so we'll be able to get all our summer staff vaccinated prior to summer camp. So that will be in pool and concessions. So that is a big sigh of relief for us, especially where they're the face of the public coming to them. So fingers crossed we can stay safe, but fireworks are in the works. Just don't know when.
Well, I was just going to say, sorry.
I was just going to ask, Greg, is it a requirement of employment to be vaccinated to be a summer camp counselor? Have you guys gone down that legal road yet?
Nope. Not going to touch that one, Bryn. It's
just curious.
I think it's a hard thing to require when a vaccine is on an emergency release. I'm not saying anything bad. I got the vaccine. I think it is fantastic. But the town requiring it for employment without it being, and I'm so sorry that it's slipping my mind, but it's
not FDA approved. It's been released on an emergency basis.
Yes. So excuse me. So
Michael. That's what I do.
Yes. So all of the research that I've been doing, sort of because we've been having this discussion for the town, is a vaccine in that it becomes really challenging for the employer to require it when it is in that state. So that may be a discussion going down the line, but I don't know that it will be a discussion for this summer. The other piece I just would like to say about the fireworks, we're not trying to alarm anyone, and we're also not pushing for the event to happen. What we are asking is that we start talking with some of the firework vendors to see what our options are and see if we can start lining up some ideas or plans or thoughts. So I don't want anyone to think that we're pushing to have the fireworks in July. We really don't know, and made it very clear last night that we won't know until June, and maybe we decide at that point, absolutely not, no way, and we make alternative arrangements. But it is a really challenging thing to flip a switch on. So if we have to wait till June to have a better idea, it's very hard to pull the trigger 4 weeks later. If we say, hey, we're ready for them, it would be really hard for us to do that. So it's just to sort of start some of the pre-planning. So I don't want to give anyone a heart attack that we're going forward. We're starting to figure out some info.
Yes, Bryn.
I have a couple questions that can I ask as part of new business, or are we? Yeah,
are we all set with old business, guys? We'll move on to yes. Go ahead, Bryn. Thank you.
One, I was curious if Exeter has heard about. Are they going to be receiving any other relief funds that are coming down from that Senator Shaheen and other folks have been talking about? Towns getting relief funds. Has Exeter heard any of that?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, no, I was going to say, and specifically then allocated maybe to the rec department.
So we don't have anything official, sort of, kind of. But we do have information that the town will be receiving some funds. What we don't have, which is probably something you're experiencing in Portsmouth, is all of the requirements and stipulations of what those funds are to be used for. And that is some of the stuff that we're waiting for. So we have an idea of what we think will be coming down the pipe. And we also have some thoughts on what the county itself, Rockingham County, might be getting. And so now there are some questions on, will any of the county money be able to come in any other form to help offset? So we're waiting on a little bit more direction on what those funds can be used for.
Got it. Thank you.
Julie, would that be a good answer?
Yes, that's accurate. And just want to include the step in there that the money will be distributed through the state. So that's your extra step of fund that we have to go through.
Right. It's not a direct check. It's through the state, as are vaccines, and everything is going through that process.
Although we know Portsmouth is getting a lot more than Exeter. So if you want to send any of Portsmouth's money over to Exeter, you got quite a few extra million than we did.
Well, and the reasons why I was asking Exeter is because if all goes as hoped, we have some rec projects lined up for that money. So because that's kind of the allocation requirements that we're hearing about, it is this outdoor recreation piece to it. Again, not confirmed, no checks are being written yet, but kind of what we're getting the sense from. So I wondered if Exeter was hearing those same conversations.
So the money you're getting is a little bit different than the money we're getting because of the community that you're in. One, you're getting, from my understanding, from the initial numbers, how do I say this nicely? A substantial amount more money than we are by a lot. And because
I live in Exeter though, so I care about Exeter.
And I'm just teasing, Britt. I'm just teasing. So Portsmouth is just getting a lot more money than we are. And that's okay. That's, it is what it is. And so because it's coming in a little bit of a different way, for a little bit of a different reason, it seems like, from what I'm understanding, you may actually have the ability to spend it on a little bit more than Exeter might. Not in the amount, but on options. But none of that is official. That is all just, nothing. Kind of, we're all trying to reach out to people and figure out who can say what and who's willing to give up the info. Totally, it hasn't come down officially
and will
yet.
it really come to fruition? None of us even know. My next question was about,
fingers crossed.
I know. My next question was about sidewalks in Exeter. And I know that does not fall under the purview of the rec board. But given that recreation has been such a hot topic and every person seemed to have bought a bike last year, and walking and biking and outdoor sports, everything just became so huge with COVID. I didn't know if there was any forward momentum on a sidewalk plan in Exeter and how the rec board could support that effort. And this might not be something for this meeting, but maybe we can add that as a talking point at a future meeting.
I can add a little bit to that, and then maybe in the future you want to have a longer conversation with our town planner. There is a sidewalk replacement plan. So for impaired sidewalks, we do have a priority list for where to repair them. There's also the town planners looking at the extensions of sidewalks through town for these very reasons. We want to be a walkable town, I should say. So there have already been some grants and things in place going forward, have been approved by voters, like more sidewalk along Winter Street, because it stops at the intersection of Epping Road and only goes about halfway down, I think. A little bit of Spring Street just to fill in some gaps in the more densely populated areas of town. And then there's that big, huge Kingston Road project, which has been in the works for, 8 years? And that is not any fault of the town. It's partly the funding was withheld for a period of time because the state was using money elsewhere, but also because we had to get the right-of-way permission from every property owner between Riverwoods and Westside Drive to add a sidewalk there. So that's taken a long time, and we just this past March voted to and it's kind of encumber the funds so that we can go forward with it when we have all the paperwork in place. So yes, there is sort of a plan, but some input would be great.
Is there, do you know, an effort for the middle school to be connected to sidewalks at all? I've been hearing that Stratum is making a big push for a bike to school, a sidewalk program to school, and I didn't know.
They've already got it. Stratum's already got it.
Yeah, so I didn't know if Exeter was thinking about that at all. I know there's that bridge, but I just didn't know if there was some update on that. And again, maybe if at some point, maybe we'd get to a point where we make a motion or we do have a meeting, like you said, Julie, that to get more informed. And is this, in a question mark, is this something that the rec board would want to in some way support the town getting more sidewalks and being able to connect our rec park in a more meaningful way? Mm-hmm. Something along that lines.
So I have two things, Greg, if you don't mind me hopping in. One, when I first started working here, one of Greg's biggest pushes was that he really would like to see Exeter become a walkable, bikeable community to local parks and things. So Greg always, I feel like, has his hat on looking for that. So I hope that's okay that I said that, Greg, but I give him a lot of credit. He talks about that a lot. And second, Julie and Greg don't know this yet because I got the email late as I was on my way to this meeting. But we put in for a sidewalk project on Linden Street with Chris Pappas's office and got information that the project has been picked to go forward. And we'll be working on that a little bit more. Nico, if you're listening, I just got the email. So what that is there's some federal money that may be allowed for certain infrastructure projects. And we have Linden Street being paved this year, but we didn't have enough money in the budget to also pave the sidewalks. We had to pick just the road. And so we're looking to get some grant money. I realize that's only one sidewalk. And what you're really talking about is a community push and a community support project on how to make our community better. And I think it's a fantastic idea, Bryn. And I think, I can't speak for Greg, but I'm assuming Park and Rec would be really supportive of that, because it helps all of our residents be healthier, happier, and be able to travel in a safe way. So I would think Park and Rec would be right. And like I said, Greg already talks about it so much. So I think it's a great thing. And if there's any way we can help Dave, then, sidewalks are a little tricky though. It's not as easy as it seems, but I think it's really important.
I would recommend, and I can't tell you this for sure, and I'm not looking at my browser right now. If Public Works has the sidewalk plan up on their website, we can at least ask them to put it on the website so you can see, how the plan is prioritized. I think it typically starts with repair before we start with new. But maybe with a little effort, we can change that.
And I'll follow that up. If it isn't on the website, I will make sure Greg gets it and we can send it out to the rec board for you guys to take a look. And if that's something you guys want to start sort of adding to our agenda and putting on the radar, I'm sure that we can do that.
I think
and Bryn, I've actually also gotten several emails requesting a sidewalk past the rec park.
Right.
From people at Exeter Farms and by Brookside. They want to be able to access it without having to go down Hampton Road right now.
Us too.
Hampton Falls Road, please. Yeah. That treacherous S-curve leaves us so remote from the rest of the town.
Or at least something, if we can't do sidewalks in general at first, at least something like when you're in Boston, you've got those, barriers that separate, because my kids also go down Hampton Falls Road and it terrifies me when they're on their bikes. And so something like that, but we'll definitely add that to the agenda. I think it's a great discussion.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. We don't quite have a rec park right now to promote, but the rec park really brought up that conversation about accessibility to the park. And I think it could be something that while we're maybe waiting for our rec park to get rejuvenated, this could be could be something that the rec board promotes and supports as a city initiative. And if there's anything we can do to help, then great. So thanks.
Thanks, Bryn. And Connor, you had a question or comment?
Yep, thank you. I just wanted to second that comment. I live right off of Kingston Road. And Lucy and I, my wife Lucy and I have walked into town on that road plenty of times, and coming around, there's a very treacherous turn we have on our road too. And it's scary. And there's a lot of communities back here. There's a lot of neighborhoods back here. People would love, I'm sure, to be able to walk and access town. And it's scary because people, the Exeter police do what they can to monitor the road, but people are going consistently 10 to, I'm not exaggerating, 20 miles an hour over the speed limit. And it's scary. They're coming around a sharp corner and it's scary.
While texting.
While texting. Yes. Texting and driving. Yeah. Which is great. So I was glad to see that initiative was passed through the deliberative session. And I really hope that project makes it through. If there's any way I can be of assistance with nudging the DOT, and I know Representative Gilman, I know, we this is all contingent on grant money that is matching the funds that Exeter has put up. These are important literally life-saving projects, and I'm not exaggerating on that. So I highly recommend that, and I thank you, Bryn, for bringing that up, and I'd be glad to have a more substantive conversation about that in the future.
Can I make I don't know if this needs to be a motion, but perhaps at our next meeting, it becomes a bullet point for us to have on our agenda at the
put it on there
at the next meeting, so that, and then between now and then, if we can get an update, if the sidewalk plan gets an update that it got put on the website, and maybe the city planner could give us just a written blurb about or update the rec staff on where they're at on many of these projects, so that we could just at least stay up to date. And if the rec board determines that there's a place that we could inject our support somewhere, we can have a deeper conversation.
Yep. So, Bryn, it's going to come through on the agenda as Complete Streets is what it's referred to as. So we'll have that on there as Complete Streets, and I'll ask Dave to join our meeting next time.
Are we yet applying for or already a quote unquote walkable community, like certified, or are we working towards that?
Are you talking about the Complete Streets program?
Yeah, and then it becomes like you apply for and become like quote unquote a walkable community, I think, through
Champion, yeah.
Walkable USA.
We haven't done anything formally. It was, I've been a fan of the Complete Streets for decades. And there hasn't been any, it's really something that has to go through the planning board, I believe, at some point. And there really hasn't been any push there to do that, or it's not constraints, but it's just another layer of thought, I guess.
Yeah. Is there a bike walk master plan in Exeter?
I think in our latest master plan update that we did stress heavily the multimodality of the town. That we want to be able to get around with less cars, more exercise, use the train, that kind of thing.
Okay. Bryn, I don't think it's a separate plan, but like Julie said, it was heavily referenced in the latest iteration of the master plan.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Great discussion about this, guys. Any other questions, comments, discussion points?
The only other thing I would say, staff, is just that I know there's a potential infrastructure bill at the federal level. And I'm just wondering if we could do any outreach just as a committee, either independently or through Representative Gilman, send a letter to Senator Hassan, Senator Shaheen, Representative Pappas, and maybe just get something earmarked, for our community. I mean, if there are public works improvement projects that we have a budget for, I mean, if there's something to do, and I don't know. I'm thinking out loud.
Yeah, and it's a great discussion point too. That's kind of outside of Parks and Rec purview. Okay. Would you agree, Greg and Melissa? But I think it's a great discussion point to have out there. I think we've got a little bit outside of our scope, but it's a great thought process for sure.
No, and of course, that's, again, I was just thinking out loud if there might be federal money that, okay.
That's what we do. That's why we're here.
I'll tell you, whenever something like this comes up and we are contacting our representatives and our congressional folks, that the more people that sign a letter or, sign on to a letter, if we want to do it as a committee or as individuals, the better. So we'll talk and I'll look into that.
Good to know. Thanks so much.
Connor, I got to tell you, all of our senators and representatives are very pro-recreation as well. So, like I said earlier, Senator Shaheen is trying for funding for summer camps. She's also, I've met with her several times over the last few years. Outdoor projects, LWCF, that's a big thing for her. She really thinks it needs to go back into the communities more. So I could definitely see possibly reaching out to them if there is a big infrastructure bill coming out of Washington, that they don't forget about outdoor recreational opportunities as well. But some can be debated at the Great American Outdoor Act, whatever was passed last year is that bill, but that's $900 million that just goes to outdoor recreation.
All right. Any further discussion on this, guys? I will entertain. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so one of the pieces is, as we're looking for kind of what we were talking about with this COVID money or infrastructure projects, because as the town, we're trying to see what pots will be available. And we do have in the back of our head some of these projects that we're talking about. So when we're talking with Dave Sharples and the select board and all of these things, so I do think that we're trying to keep projects like sidewalks and things that could really help the residents of Exeter right at the forefront to the best that we can, while also dealing with some emergencies that the town may be dealing with a little bit here and there. So it's a little bit of a balance, but I do think I love the sidewalk thing, and if we can get some push to it, I know it's from talking with Dave, it's something that he thinks is very important as well. So. And Dave's our town planner for anybody that doesn't know.
Any further discussion, guys? Yes, Mr. Whistler.
One new business thing. Greg and I had talked about Major League Baseball has a pitch it and run, I think it's called now. And Greg, we've kind of, as everything, been indecisive on dates, but we could do May 15th. If you still want to try and pull that off, I can put that date into their system and see whatever information I get back as far as having that event.
Can you explain what that is in about 30 seconds? I'd love to hear it.
I probably know about 15 seconds worth. It's
that's perfect. Even better.
Major League Baseball has a long-standing pitch hit and it used to be called pitch hit and throw. Now I think it's called pitch hit and run. But it's just it's a field event, mostly for younger kids. I think it's boys and girls, I believe.
That's correct.
And, it's just what it says. It's a contest. I think it's pitching. I know when I did it when I was 10 years old, you pitched some and you took 10 swings and you threw at a target. Just kind of a fun-filled day. Honestly, I would know more, except Major League Baseball, when you initially register, they say it doesn't matter when you're having it. But then when you register, it says, well, we can't tell you anything till you give us the date of when you're having it. So I'll go ahead with May 15th if that works.
Works for me.
Okay.
That sounds fun. Let us know what we can do to help, Mike, all right?
Yep.
Anything else, guys? Well, with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. You have to say it, though, Jen. Oh, I think you might be on mute, but you're not showing you're on mute. I wonder if you write it and hold it up, if that'll do it. No.
I will make the motion to adjourn.
I know we're watching the poor kids struggle here. Thanks, Dan. I'll take a second.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor, we'll take it around. Jen is raising her hand. I'll take that as an aye. Dan?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Bryn muted in the thumbs up, but I think I got to hear it.
Aye.
Connor?
Aye.
Excellent. I say aye. Have a wonderful, wonderful week and weekend. Stay dry the next few days, guys, and thanks for all your...